it's also a place of hope. Worshippers write their prayer on a piece of paper and place it between cracks in the wall.
Every day, thousands of people come to this wall to worship. This is a place of prayer, repentance, and oath-taking dedicated to one God.
Today, Judaism is one of the world's most important religions. But 2,500 years ago, it was just beginning to take hold. It was the first religion to really turn people's perception of gods upside down. And probably the first religion to identify pure evil in its teachings.
Jews.
Pure evil.
This is Beersheba, on the fringe of the Negev Desert in southern Israel. Around 1000 BCE, the people of this region worshipped many gods. Among them, El, a creator god, and Baal, a powerful storm god.
Baal was a god of violent power, worshipped like any other polytheistic god throughout the ancient Near East. But around 800 BCE, some of the people in this area began to worship a singular god, whom they called Yahweh. And Yahweh's first commandment to his people, you will have no other gods before me. It's the first time in history that a people decided that there was one true God, and that all others had to be discarded.
This new monotheism changed the way people thought about religion. Once there had been room for many gods, many beliefs. But Judaism proclaimed that all other religions were false, wrong, and possibly even evil. According to the Old Testament, Hezekiah, the Hebrew king of Judah, instituted a series of religious reforms in the 8th century BCE. He ordered the destruction of all temples dedicated to other gods. Beersheba was such a place.
Archaeologists think that this is where the main temple of Beersheba once stood. And an altar was found at this site that may have actually stood here in this temple space. What you see now is a big empty hole in the ground.
Curiously, some of these forbidden gods bear an uncanny resemblance to Satan, as did Pan and Seth.
Even though gods like Baal or El were perceived as beings with horns and great masculine virility, the ancient followers of Yahweh didn't believe either of them to be the devil. Not yet.
What's fascinating is that this change in belief wasn't just happening in one place or one culture. At about the same time that the Israelites began rejecting Baal and El, the ancient Egyptians began to see Seth in a significantly different way as well. 75 miles south of Luxor, the temple at Edfu is one of the best preserved and largest ancient temples in Egypt. Starting in the 7th century BCE, Egypt was under constant attack by foreign intruders. These bloody invasions took a huge toll on the Egyptians, and by the 3rd century BCE, when this temple was built, people's ideas about evil had changed.
Throughout this constant strife, Egyptians, like the Israelites, began to see the world less in shades of gray and more in terms of black and white. An us versus them mentality arose, even with respect to their gods. And with this, the idea of singular evil began to coalesce.
Edfu Temple was dedicated to the god Horus, the nephew of Seth. Seth had been worshipped as a source of violent power for over 2,000 years. Now, for the first time, the Egyptians began to see his violent ways as evil. Seth had to be destroyed symbolically, and this is depicted on the temple walls.
So here we have an image of Horus vanquishing his enemy and uncle Seth. Now, you see something very clearly. Horus is
See how they
depicted
chisel all
very
the stuff
large.
away?
And Seth,
They didn't do
depicted
that.
as a hippo, is this teeny small thing.
Did.
The Egyptians at this point are very afraid of Seth, very worried about his power. So he's shown as a small creature, while the important image of justice and truth, Horus, he's there larger than life. So here we see Seth upright. He's being speared and he's held by fetters, but he's still upright. In this temple, you see the scene of him being vanquished again and again and again. And here we see a kind of climax of what's happening. Seth is on his back, his feet are up, and here's the god Horus with his spear, pointing it down right into Seth's heart. And this is something new. Seth used to be a god that was worshipped, but now all evil is coalescing into this one supernatural form that has to be destroyed.
Cultures like Egypt's were simplifying their concepts of good and evil. The Israelites had already proclaimed their belief in one true God who committed no wrong. All of this contributed to the possibility of the opposite, a supernatural being who was pure evil, an evil that was about to be born.